Hey guys, it's Reagan and today I'm filming a new type of video series that I had an idea of that I'm really kind of excited about. And basically it's going to be a seasonal reading review. Basically, at the end of every season, I'm going to tell you guys every book I read in that 3-month period and then pick out my top 5 favorite books of the season. I decided it might be a good idea to do this because, one, I read a lot of books, and kind of going through all my wrap-ups that I do every month to find a particular book to see if I've read it or might be a little difficult. So I just thought I'd kind of consolidate this, kind of like an in-summary type of video to let you guys know the books I've read. Basically, I'm going to show you guys all the books I've read during the months, but I'm going to do it really quickly. I'm basically just going to show you the title and my overall rating. So it's going to go really fast, but you know, if you want more information about the book, you can then go to my month's wrap-up and then hear more of a concise review over my thoughts and feelings over that book. But yes, so for this video, I am doing my summer season review, which is going to be all the books I read in the months of June, July, and August for the summer months. Kind of getting the theme here. And just to let you guys know, I have read a total of 34 books over these summer months, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started and start with the books I have read in June. So the very first book I read in June was The Immortal Rules by Julie Kagawa, and I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in June was Unspoken by Sarah Rees Brennan, and this is the first book in the Leybourne Legacy series, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read was the sequel, and that is Untold, which is the second book in the Leybourne Legacy series, and I also gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read was Poison Princess by Kresley Cole. I gave this book a 3.5 stars on Goodreads. After that, I read Amulet by Kazuo Kibushi, the first book in the Stonekeepers series graphic novels, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next 2 books I read were both graphic novels, and it is the Boxers and Saints graphic novel Duology by Jean Nguyen Yang, and I gave both of these books 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read is Scandal by Sarah Auchler, and I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Next is The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filer, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I completed is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Yeah. And the very last book I read in the month of June is The Glass Sentence by S.E. Grove, and I gave this book a 4.5 stars on Goodreads. And now moving on to the month of July, in the month of July I read a total of 14 books. The first book I read in the month of July was Codename Verity by Elizabeth Vine. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read was The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simmons, and I gave this book a 4.7585 on Goodreads. Next I read Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads as well. Then I read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, and I gave this book a 4.5 stars on Goodreads. Next I read the entire Giver Quartet, which consists of The Giver, Gathering Blue, The Messenger, and lastly, Sun. All of these books I gave a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Next I read Mr. Penumbrum's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Shalom. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I also read Housekeeping Castle by Elizabeth Vine Jones, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I also read Is Everybody Hanging Out Without Me and Other Concerns by Mindy Kaling. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read is Midwinter Blood by Marcus Sedgwick. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Next, I read Amulet Volume 2, the second book in the Stonekeepers series by Kazuo Kibushi, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. And lastly, I read The Arrival, and I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Now on to my last month of the summer, which is August, and I read a total of 7 books in the month of August. The first book I read in the month of August was The Falconer by Elizabeth May, and I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read was The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read is Revolver by Marcus Sedgwick, and I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Next I read The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Next I read Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, and I gave this book also a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Next is Isla and the Happily Ever After by Stephanie Perkins, and I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. And And lastly, I read Lock and Key by Joe Hill, and I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. As stated in the beginning of this video, I am now going to move on to my top 5 favorite books I read during the summertime. But before I do that, I want to quickly mention all of these books I have mini reviewed in all of my wrap-ups, so if there's any particular book you're more interested in, I will leave all three of my monthly wrap-ups that were mentioned in this video down below, so you can click those, and if you want to hear more of my in-depth thoughts on any of those books, you'll be able to find them there. Also, before I get started in my top 5, I do have to do an honorable mention because I read too many fantastic books in the months of summer that it's hard, okay? It's hard. So I have 4 honorable mention books that I just want to quickly mention and give a 1-sentence blurb as why you should read it, okay? First up is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This book is hauntingly beautiful and fantastic and atmospheric. Next we have Boxers and Saints. Both of these are heart-wrenching and fantastic and rich in history and really gets you thinking. And last we have Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This book is fantastically fun and just full of life and pop culture references that'll make any nerdy heart exceptionally happy. Now moving on to my top 5, I'm gonna start, so the first one in my top 5 is The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filer. I have done a separate review of this book and really have mentioned many times how much I have loved this book, but this book is amazing. It documents a young man's struggle with mental illness as well as his death of his younger brother, and it's just so real and so poignant that I honestly feel that this book is fantastic for anyone to read, especially if you're a big fan of realistic fiction, because I really feel like this book is really gritty and fantastic. The next book on my top 5 is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is the conclusion to the Mistborn trilogy. Absolutely mind-blowing. I can't really tell you anything about this book, obviously, as it's a conclusion of the series, but if you have not picked up The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, what are you doing? I will link the box set link down below because I have gotten a lot of questions about where to find the box set of the UK covers. I'll leave a link down below, so there's that. But this is an absolutely fantastic high fantasy series that has fantastically rich characters as well as a super interesting magic system that is way too complicated to try to explain in this video, but basically it involves metals, ingesting and then burning metals, and all the metals give you different abilities. Truly, like, this is my favorite fantasy series ever, so there's that. Next on the list is The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simmons. This is a epic historical fiction romance that I absolutely adored. It is set in Russia during World War II. It is extremely intense and very emotionally taxing, and at times it does have some minor flaws, specifically with the characters and some tropes that are used in this book, but truly I was engrossed in this book from page 1, like borderline obsessed with this novel. So if you like historical fiction, romance, or any of the two, I would really highly recommend checking this out. It is a journey, I'll tell you that much. Next we have All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, probably one of my all-time favorite books ever that I have ever read. It has just affected my life more than I was expecting when I read this. This is a World War II historical fiction novel as well. That is one of my favorite genres. And this book follows 2 different perspectives, a young blind French girl and a young Nazi youth. We follow them from the very early childhood and then up into the war when their lives actually kind of cross paths. It is so well written and so beautiful and has such it is absolutely amazing. And it's not dense. It is an adult fiction novel, but it's so easy to read. You just get so attached to the story. You literally feel like you're living it, man, and it is so fantastic. I cannot praise this book enough, so please just read it and try it. It's so good, okay? It's so good. It's so good. And then last in my top 5 is The Storied Life of A.J. Thickery by Gabrielle Zevin. Gabrielle Zevin, you might have heard of her before. She is the author who wrote Memoirs of a Teenage Amnesiac, which is a young adult book, but this is an adult fiction book that she wrote, and it's so lovely. It follows a man who's kind of down on life. He his wife has passed away in recent years, and he owns a bookstore, and recently a very valuable manuscript has been stolen, so he's just not feeling it. He's just an angry, kind of a bitter man. He's extremely intelligent, and for some reason kind of reminds me of the character trope of like a Sherlock Holmes or kind of thing, like an expert in his field of books but not very good with people, if you know what I mean. But one day a very surprise package in the form of a child arrives in his bookstore, and it's just so great. This book follows this man, AJ Fikry, but also just a whole bunch of people in this town, and basically their lives all center around this bookstore and how reading has changed their lives in many different ways and has sent them on paths that you see through this book. It's just so great. It'll make you smile, it'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, it'll make you want to hug it. I don't know how Gabrielle Zevin packs such a punch in such a short book, but she does, and it's so great. Really. Alrighty guys, so that is the end of my summer reading and review. Hopefully you guys liked this video. Let me know down below if you do like this format. I kind of do. It's like a summary, so I'm looking forward to continue on doing it in the future. But let me know down below your favorite book you read during the summertime, and I will see you guys later.